What's going on, guys? It is Thursday, which means we are one day closer to the weekend. Today we are still sticking with the theme of barbell and doing a little bit of deadlifting and some body weight movements. So let's take a look at the board. I intentionally kept the weights a little bit on the lighter side. I know for some of you might be like, that's not light, but if we've been consistently training, especially deadlifts during quarantine, these weights might feel pretty light, and the volume on the deadlifts really isn't that much. But one of the things that I'm looking at as we get ready to come back to the gym is I'm looking at, one, how are people feeling when we're done with these workouts? When we've introduced some more loading than what we've had based on the implements we've had during quarantine. And if you don't have a bar, again, backpack, kettlebell, dumbbells, things like that. Fine, use what you have and follow the same rep schemes. And if you happen to have a faster time because you can move faster because it's lighter weight, great. That's still going to be great stimulus. This workout shouldn't take that long. I know that it's a decent number of push-ups, and those can be a little bit taxing when you really start to get tired and you only can do 2s and 3s at a time or even singles at a time. But just keep moving. Just stay consistent. So our deadlift weight today, we are starting off with 30 deadlifts at 185 for guys, 125 for gals. 30 still a decent number of reps, but that weight is much lighter just with the intention of being able to have you guys do big sets. We're working on volume. I want to see that are your hamstrings going to be super sore tomorrow? If that is, that's going to give me and our other coaches just some more knowledge as when we're coming back and we're working out, how can we scale appropriately to make sure all of our athletes are good, we're not pushing you too hard too soon, that sort of stuff. And specifically getting feedback on how you're feeling, what's sore, what's not sore, are you functional, or is it impossible to get out of bed? That stuff's important for us to know as a coaching staff so we can make sure we're serving our community right as we get back into the normal swing of things. So 30 deadlifts, then we're going to 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups. We go back to the barbell, we add some weight. It's 20 deadlifts this time, 225 for guys, 155 for gals, 40 push-ups, 40 sit-ups. Back to the bar for one last time. It's only 10 reps this time, but it is 275 and 185 for the prescribed weight on that last set of deadlifts. 30 push-ups, 30 sit-ups, 4 time, done and done. So let's talk about this real quick. The deadlifts. If it's been a while since I've deadlifted, again, consider scaling back. Even if you're like, man, that weight would be no problem for me 3 months ago. Well, it might be a little different depending on where we're at coming out of quarantine and starting to get back into some of this stuff. So, but if you know, like, I got that all day, do it. Go for it. Kill it. It's going to be a good time. Now, with the deadlifting, really focusing on keeping that back nice and neutral. The moment you start to create flexion, especially if it's flexion during the movement, like if I were to pull this off the ground and you were to see my back rounding as that bar is moving, that's a really dangerous situation. When there's flexion under load, that's when people run the most risk of a slip disc or pulling something, straining something, stuff like that. The type of back injuries that people in the past have said deadlifting is dangerous because of. Yeah, if you do anything wrong, you definitely increase your risk factors. So really focus on keeping that spine neutral. And one of the best ways to do that while deadlifting is making sure you're doing your diaphragmatic breathing properly. So the idea of taking a hand, putting it on your chest and on your belly. If you were to take a deep breath, let's just say I breathe into my chest. My hand up here is going to move a lot. If I were to take a deep breath and breathe into my diaphragm, mostly, notice I still get a little bit of my chest moving, but you're going to see my belly's going to inflate and this hand's going to move out. You want to be thinking about breathing into your diaphragm, taking a deep breath here, and then squeezing and bracing your core. Because if I can put air into that space and then brace, I'm creating much more intra-abdominal pressure. It makes keeping that spine neutral so much easier than if I were to only breathe into my chest, and then I'm not actually providing anything else to support my core or my trunk from being able to stay neutral and stay stronger. So when you're deadlifting, deep belly breathe into that diaphragm, embrace, and then stand all the way up. You're squeezing your butt at the top so you know that your hips are through and your shoulders are behind the bar at the finished position. If you're going really fast, and you're only coming up to here and back down, that's not a good enough rep. Why? My hip angle's still closed. I didn't finish before starting to descend with that bar again. So really think about that. Belly breathing, super important, especially if you're tired and it's heavy at the end. So that's enough on deadlift. Let's talk about push-ups and sit-ups. We've done a lot of these in quarantine too, so this will be just a quick overview. The push-up, hands should be roughly about shoulder width apart. It varies obviously from athlete to athlete. Squeezing my belly, keeping my body in a line. I'm coming down, chest touches the floor, and back up to full extension. So I really want to make sure I'm squeezing my elbows at the top, and I'm not doing those types of push-ups where I'm only getting partial range of motion, not full extension at the top. And chest should hit the floor every time. And then for sit-ups, if you have an ab mount, then remember, fat side facing your low back. I'm going to butterfly my feet. You can do this exact same thing if you don't have an ab mat. And I'm going to come back, hands go over my head, touch the floor, come all the way back up and touch my toes, and then I can push right back off my feet into my next sit-up. And why we do the butterfly thing with our legs, shoulders get over our hips. It gives me a whole lot more range of motion per rep coming up rather than being here. And when I sit all the way up, I'm not actually getting my shoulders over my hips. I'm still in this reclined position. Thus, I'm missing that engagement and full range of motion. It also means that I'm able to utilize my quads and my hip flexors a little bit for pulling myself up and not just my core. So if you want a stronger core, or if you know sit-ups are a weakness for you, it could be that butterflying your feet out and starting to get used to doing sit-ups in this position is going to make this stronger and make it easier to cycle more reps and just keep moving and give you an overall stronger core because of that small change of not having your hips in that closed position, and now all of a sudden everything else is out of the way. So, again, looking back at the board, ascending weight on the deadlifts, descending reps on everything, 30 deadlifts, 185, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 20 deadlifts, 225, 155, 40, 40, 10, 30, 30, 4 time. That's it. Gonna be a good one today. I don't know about you guys, but I love deadlift. I'm super excited to get back in the gym with everybody, specifically so we can start to move a heavy barbell again, because I know how much we miss that stuff. So if you have the ability to add this weight, do it. If you don't, use what you can. If the weight stays the same on the deadlifts, that's okay. If your weight's gonna stay the same, I'm gonna encourage you to do 30 every single time instead of less reps every time, just because we're not increasing the load, thus increasing stimulus with the loading. We're just staying the same. So consider that if you only have a couple implements or one weight that you can use for the entire thing. But this one's gonna be a good one. Should be fairly short in terms of the overall time domain, but it's gonna be fun, guys. Let's get after it.